One more minute, please. Wonderful. Hello and welcome to this edition of On Air, the online format of the Swiss AI Weeks in co-production with the Wildcard Media. Today we have a really interesting topic. I'll let you introduce yourselves from risk to edge, how SMEs can turn ethical AI into their advantage. We'll have the session. You have the possibility to ask questions in the chat that will be answered at the end of the session. The session is recorded and live streamed on YouTube. And I'm really excited and hand over to the hosts today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction and welcome everybody to this roundtable. I'm really excited to be here today with all of you. I know that it's a topic that it's much talked about AI these days, and the topic today will be specifically on small and medium enterprise. But before I start, I would like to introduce the panelists that will be together with me today. And I start with Charlotte. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
I'm on mute. So thank you, Barbara. So my name is Charlotte. I'm working at Michael Page for 15 years, and I'm a recruitment specialist for marketing digital communication position in the French part of Switzerland, and advise a board member in a company.
Thank you,
Mother
Charlotte.
of 2 kids.
French, Swiss.
French, Swiss, exactly.
Thank you, Charlotte. Ladies first, I will go with Caroline next.
Thank you, Barbara. So I am Caroline Perriard. I'm advising companies in the field of intellectual property, privacy, and AI governance. I'm quite passionate about ethics in AI and the new question that this is arising.
Thank you, Caroline. Elio?
Yes, hello everyone. So my name is Elio. I'm an AI expert and have been working in the field for more than 10 years. Applied my knowledge to solve problems in all kinds of industries and companies. And I really love solving challenges using AI and technology.
Thank you, Elio. You look like you are where? I can't recognize. Where are you?
This is Singapore, but I'm not in Singapore.
Singapore. Okay, okay, nice. Are you there?
No.
Thank you, Elio. And last but not least, Michele.
Thanks, Barbara. I am Michele Soavi. I co-founded Impascope, where we implemented solution on using AI blockchain for sustainability solution. And I'm also a doctoral supervisor around these topics.
Thank you, Michele. And you are Italian, like me. So thank you all again, and a couple of words really shortly about myself. So my name is Barbara Cresti. I'm the founder of Stratedge, that is a company that is advising and accompanying small and medium businesses in adopting and integrating AI in a responsible and ethical way. Before that, I worked in large corporations, namely my last role was at Amazon Web Services, but I also worked in small and medium businesses here in Switzerland. So before we start, and please be curious, ask questions, don't be shy. We are there to answer to all the questions you have. So we have questions and answers with our experts, but we would really appreciate your interaction. So let me start with a couple of data, data. And from my research, it looks like only 28% of Swiss small and medium businesses have an AI strategy. Over half of Swiss director and CXO, they don't use AI regularly. And what happens just from something that we are noticing in the field is that there is a use of AI that starts from the bottom up. So there is a lot of exploration from employees in companies, but often the use of AI is not framed in a way that either is responsible or is productive. So what we can see is that leaders in general lack an AI literacy. If we start from the board and then we go down to the C-suite and then down further, we see that there is a lack of understanding of what AI is. Often there is a risk-averse position. So AI is seen more like a risk than an opportunity. And there is sometimes even C-suites that give the mandate to their teams to innovate with AI, so use AI, but without any guidelines. So let's be practical and make an example. There is this Swiss SME that is in automotive, and the C-suite was encouraging, which is good, encouraging their teams to explore AI without giving any framework. So without saying which tool to use, what to do and what not to do with AI. And this comes up with people uploading in ChatGPT, even with personal accounts, design of new products, or even sharing very confidential information about strategic meetings. So what we will do here with our experts today is really discuss from a practical standpoint with a real use case in Switzerland and also in Europe, what happens when companies try to adopt AI, what are the do's and the don'ts. And we will see the technical and the strategical side with Elio, the more legal and regulatory part with Caroline, the more human and organizational side with Charlotte, and the more ESG but also technical side with Michele. So let me start asking a question to Elio. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. So, Elio, Swiss SMEs, they hear a lot about AI. Is it just another tool, or is it something that is shaping the economy, the ecosystem? How is your view of AI? That you are an engineer specialized in AI, machine learning. So tell us what your customers see and say.
Yep. So AI, in my opinion, is no longer just another IT tool. It really has become, I believe, a strategic component for to be competitive. Just like the internet and the mobile, how they changed industries. And the power of AI, what makes it different, is that it doesn't just automate things, but it can really affect every part of your business. That's why it's so powerful. Like, it can go from decision-making to customer interaction to product design to whoever. So I believe the ones who will properly leverage AI, and I focus on the word properly, which we'll cover probably later, they will not just cut cost. They will really gain a lot of capabilities to open new opportunities and create barriers and enter the market in a fast way that competitors can't just easily replicate, because doing AI properly takes time and then it creates a lot of value. So I believe in this case, really AI reshuffles a bit the playing field and really provides a competitive advantage. I can give you an example if you want, right?
Yeah, sure.
Let's take a Swiss industry, watchmaking, right? So an actual company, right? They used AI in predictive quality control, and they use that to detect defects very early on in the production, therefore reducing eventually the rate of returns of their high quality watches. So that's a very nice, simple application of AI done in a proper way that had amazing impact later on in the pipeline.
Yeah, so you're talking about AI, and we know we have discussed with customers before. So AI is not it's many things, right? So right now the hype is on Gen AI. Maybe you can say a couple of words on what is the difference between AI and Gen AI.
Of course. So AI by itself is like this field or discipline where we try to use our data and all kinds of information to automate tasks, automate human tasks, let's say decision making or predicting or recommendations or etc. And Gen AI is and AI has been around for many, many years. So more than 20 years we have been using it. We just don't know it sometimes. Gen AI also has been around for many years, but much less. And now it has become very popular with ChatGPT and similar tools because it's a subset of AI focused on generating content. Like you see ChatGPT, you write to it, and then it generates easily for you a text that's very compelling and that kind of answers your questions.
Thank you. I think that's an important differentiation because we hear a lot about AI, but in fact, there are lots of AIs and not all are relevant to all the use cases. So the other question I have for you is you deal a lot with SMEs, and we have heard data lately by MIT saying that most of Gen AI, I think it's around 84% of Gen AI projects fail. Can you really dive deep in this number and explain what are the main reasons for Gen AI projects to fail?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I will go like AI projects in general, because Gen AI is a subset. They fail for many reasons. In my opinion, the top two reasons are, one, it's the lack of business case, business alignment, or strategy. So what happens, companies and SMEs, they quite often start AI projects because they should do AI without actually linking it to, like a business goal. And if AI is not there, like AI is really powerful, and if it's not there to solve a concrete problem, like reduce cost, improve customer service, improve sales, better recommendations, etc., then what's the point of it? And then what happens in this case, people, they want to do AI, they try too many things at the same time without really focusing on one clear topic. And they usually end up doing here, what they do is they use very complicated models to solve problems that require simple models, for example. And then like the question becomes here, do you really need to, if you want to kill a fly, do you need the tank, or just a small newspaper is enough, So in this context, I believe AI is very powerful, but it should be used and approached for the right challenges. And that's why it's important to have AI literacy in the organization, especially for leaders, because then they can choose the right problem to attack and the right approach to use. So that's reason number one: no business case and strategy or alignment. The second problem is usually, in my opinion, data readiness and integration challenges. So if you take a Swiss SME, they usually have fragmented systems. Like they have an accounting tool, a supply chain tool, another one for customer data, etc. So data is often messy, missing, or is incorrect. And you want to connect as well. So without clean connect data, even the best AI cannot do much. So you need good data to have good results. That's one. And then once you have your system ready, usually you test it in a small lab. Let's say you do a proof of concept. But what's really important is to have it integrated into your workflows and having people accept it and have it interact with your software systems. So really here, data, and then of course integration of the system with the data and people has to be planned from day one and not left till the end. You see? I can give a few examples if you want on this topic. So I always have examples from many projects we delivered. So a company deployed, and they came to us to help them resolve that. But what happened is that they deployed a chatbot for customer support, but the training data was not very well curated, and integration was really not good. So what happened here? The chatbot started giving wrong answers and invalid links, and customers were very unhappy, and it gave the negative effect. It did not help them. Actually, just today, my team reported to me that the chatbot on Azure OpenAI gives incorrect answers about Azure OpenAI details and gives incorrect links. And it was like, wow, like that's perfect. I will actually say it in my presentation today. So,
which is not reassuring.
So it shows that even this happens everywhere, even with Azure, which is the best providers. In this case, they didn't update their data. They didn't keep it clean, and it led to wrong results. On the other hand, maybe a success story is like in healthcare, there is always so many forms to fill. So what happened here, we deployed an AI system to help professionals pre-fill thousands of forms. We spent so much time on data preparation, and we spent a lot of time with people being integrated in the system to approve, review, and make sure everything is correct. Now accuracy is at 96%, which is amazing, and it's automating, all the process. It's really good. So yeah, that's fun.
I like your examples, and you have many, I know. And it's interesting, the last one about Azure. Yeah, so what we are saying is that there are lots of opportunities. There are also risks, and the risk is often linked to data, right? So Carolina, going to you. So AI is more and more discussed at the strategic level, from boards to CEOs and CXOs. But what about employees that already use ChatGPT or other AI tools like Claude, Gemini, and so on, and they use it without telling their managers or because they don't have any guidelines. So this situation is called shadow AI. Can you elaborate a bit on it?
Sure. So as you said, shadow AI can raise some risk for the company, and I'm just going to highlight some of them also in relation to employees. But I think the first one everyone knows is the loss of the confidential information. If you use a tool and you add the minutes of an important meeting, or you want to do a summary of some strategic test, then you might be disclosing information on a platform that's publicly available. And I think here we also need to understand that long time ago we used dictionaries. Maybe we didn't in this panel use dictionaries, but still we use like tools to find digital tools to find a word. But now we're really making a translation of text or review of text on AI-based systems. So we're really inputting the whole text, the whole story of the company, and that's definitely a risk. Another risk is intellectual property assets. How do we build these IP assets for the company and keep the ownership? And this is a lot of discussion from a legal side. If you think also about content, text content on images, many years ago we had like photographs taking images for the company, and you had assignment to the company, and you could say it's my own. Then we use more like online database, like Get Images, and you could also buy the rights. What's happening now with images on Midjourney, for example? Who is owning the rights? Is there any right in it? And that's also an impact on the asset of the company. So definitely a risk. Can I claim anything on whatever is done there? And if I don't know what my employees are doing, and if my employees don't know what they're doing, then we're also losing a lot of investment from the company. And the last risk I would like to raise here is the reliance on the tools that will lead to an overtrust of the tools. If you're using forecasting tools, but it hasn't really been approved or checked, how much are we relying on it? You rely on your employees and their intelligence and skills. Can you also rely on the tools that they're using? So I think that's also kind of a topic that needs to be raised. And what is important also in terms of best practices for the companies is to assess the digital awareness and digital readiness of the employees, but also the company. Is it a digital transformed company, or are we really at an early stage? And that will also help to kind of bring the topic in front of the board. I think it's also very important to remind principle of confidentiality and proprietary data. What do we want to do with that? The tools are important, as Barbara also said. You said maybe the company does not have any guidelines. Okay, but let's start with something simple, and then maybe Charlotte, you'll bring in this topic. But it's also important the company is not waiting to have the perfect AI governance program to raise the topic with the employees, because the employees, they are so human beings and they're using AI tools for their private in their private life. And then last point I wanted to make here to this question is the executive need to leave the talk. They need to embrace AI tools, being GenAI, but also all the other tools for, you know, supply chain, etc. And they need to use it. They need to try. And 10 years ago, we were saying, or 15, if you don't have a Facebook account, you don't know how Facebook is working. I guess you all agree with that. So it's the same with the AI-based tools. You also need to use it as an executive.
Thank you, Carolina. Lots of risks, but as we said, there are lots of opportunities. So as you say, is important. I mean, today AI is everywhere, right? So it's something that we need to learn, we need to adopt, we need to embrace, but understanding and being aware of the risks. So let's go back to SMEs. SMEs today face lots of difficulties, right? There is a lot of cost pressure. There are geopolitical situations with the tariffs and so on. And then there are all these digital risks that you just mentioned, but there is also cybersecurity, there is the data leaks, there are the regulations that EU has just embraced. So if you had to name one or two of the major risks that SME need to address, what would you name, and what advice would you give to SMEs? You already partly answered. You said start simply.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would like to go back also to what Elio was saying about the data. The data is the base of the AI tools. So you also need to know your data. And you need to know where it comes from, where it is stored, and whom you're sharing it with. And I think that's also one area to look for is your vendors. Know your vendors, select them correctly, have contractual obligation with the vendors that also target AI responsibility, and make sure you can get out of it without losing all the investment. So I think because there are so many different solutions for different purposes, it's important to map the vendors and understand where are the risks. Are we in a high risk relationship, or we can trust them? And the other point I wanted to mention is the leak of data, disclosure of data. And because we're also talking about so much data, part might also be strategic data or personal data. If it's out there because it's been shared in different platforms and we're losing track of where it's being shared, then we might be in a problem of data disclosure that could impact the business continuity, stop the processes. Maybe we have to go to the authorities to report that, or to, you know, inform customers. So really also going back to what Elio was saying is this data is so important, and it's getting even more, you know, we said data was kind of the gold of a generation. Maybe now it's diamond, or I don't know what you want to say, but it's really so important when you have the clean data and you make it worth, but you also know how it's being handled, and it's not because the tool is telling you we can do everything that you just trust it.
Thank you, Caroline. I think that what you brought up together with Elio is the importance of data, the importance of responsibility. And you mentioned as well transparent and trustworthy relationships with the vendor. So the vendor need to be accountable. You need to ask lots of questions. We can't go in details today to ensure that you can trust them, because what is at stake and what can be also an advantage is to ensure that you maintain a very strong trust with your employees, that they know what they are doing and why, trust with your customers, that you know their personal information, or that the product that you are selling that won't be replicated somewhere else, and trust with if you have different shareholders and so on, with your peers. So trust today, if data is a diamond, I don't know what is beyond diamond, but trust is key, right? So in this world of AI and everything that goes digital and so on, trust is the glue that collect and that keeps people together. So it's really an important point that trust is what you can use as well as a competitive edge for your business by choosing the right vendor, by educating your teams, and by embracing AI in a responsible way. So now let's move to the human side, Charlotte. SMEs, they can do anything, everything at once, right? There are limitations of budget, there are limitations of resources, so they have to choose where they should start, according to you, based on your experience.
So coming back on your example of shadow AI, so they will start to estimate where do they stand. So they start, of course, with the clean data, but also on the human side, how their people are responding to AI. So we conducted the survey on a global side, and in Switzerland, funny facts, or funny, let's say, we know that 55% of the workers use a form of Gen AI at work, such as ChatGPT, Midjourney, Microsoft Copilot, in comparison to Europe, where it's 40%. So the question should be more, can employers keep the pace in this changing environment and provide the clarity their staff need? So I would say first is awareness of leaders. And when the leaders understood, it should be cascaded with a clear adoption strategy. So clear adoption strategy can be defined depending on the SMEs, and as Elio and Caroline said, like depending on the risk, depending on the vendors, depending on the if the data is clean or not, and start with proof of concept on a business side.
Thank you, Charlotte. So you're saying start with the top and then bring it down to the company. It's interesting. Yesterday there was a research, yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was a research that came out from Stanford saying that in the US, amongst 1,500 something employees that were interviewed, they were using AI, but they never had a training. So how do you think training is important for employees once the top is AI literate?
So as I was saying, usually they use their phone and they extract data. So we won't talk again about the risk, because I'm sure you're measuring that sharing some business data into the cloud where you don't go where it is. It's a risk, of course. But training is what we see in the SME market is limiting the risk. So maybe let me share with you two examples. So the first example is famous luxury company. So their observation was, okay, we need to improve the efficiency and the productivity. So they have an internal GPT, and less than 20% of their employees worldwide were using the internal GPT. So currently, they are planning to create a training path to develop skills. So the first one is to demystify AI, because if you and me are using it on a daily basis, the thing is a lot of people are afraid to use AI also. And what they're working is also on workshop by function, because when you're working in IT or where you are working in finance, your need is not the same. And they will challenge also depending on the employee profile. And on a group level, on a human side, what is interesting that we see on HR is that you can create an internal mobility or talent development mobility, reviewing the traditional process. Okay, Barbara, where do you want to be in 1 year? Thanks to this AI-based talent marketplace, which allow every employee, when they want, to fill out a profile. And then based on an algorithm, they will be able to propose you, okay, Barbara, you've said that you want to go there, and do this kind of job, and they will be able to propose you.
Thank you.
And the second example is more like a Swiss insurance company. And this is kind of the to do if I were a SME leader. So demystification of AI, skills development and training. So what they do is they say, okay, where do we start? So we start with roughly 20% of people using Copilot. So they had Copilot internally, and they set up a target. So the target was we need to have 70% of the population using Copilot properly. So working on the adoption rate. So again, training on function, prompting training also, and they develop a network of 40 ambassadors, which collect use case, concerns, experience to accelerate the upskilling. And they also organized an AI week with external and internal speakers. And on an HR perspective, they did a full migration to the cloud. And with that, they went from 20 to 70, and now the goal is 90%.
Oh, that's quite interesting. I like that approach. I mean, having worked at Amazon when ChatGPT was released, I can tell you that a lot of investment was done on educating people. There was education at every level. So we were, in brackets, brainwashed by GenAI. GenAI was in all the conversation, in all the meetings. We were given tools to explore, but within a framework. There were policies in place. There were a lot of pop-up windows when you open the chat tool saying you don't upload their confidential information, even if it was a proprietary tool, right? You don't upload customer information. No. So I think that I agree with you. The wise approach is educating everyone, starting from the top. Thank you so much, Charlotte. So now let's move to Michele. Michele, many SMEs want to wait because I've lost my my flow. Apologies for that. I'm with paper, which I shouldn't be, but yeah, the question is, we have you have worked a lot on companies, with the companies, right? And how this is happening with company. You have been working a lot on ESG matters, so, and using AI as well. What have you seen? What have you experienced?
Thanks, Barbara. I use paper as well, so yeah, I still pretty much like it. And connecting to the discussion we were having before, I like to touch on the point of trust, which you were mentioning before. And now I work mostly in monitoring, reporting, and verification using tech, whereas initially in my background I was financial auditor, therefore pretty much having to deal with data. And data finally is somehow the basis for trust. And as I see it here, there's somehow, particularly for SMEs, somehow the value of that between, people using individually shadow AI, as it was mentioned before, and on the other side of the spectrum, fully fledged corporate implementation, which SMEs cannot afford for the time being, or it's still somehow too ambitious. And from the trust perspective, I see it quite a lot the risk of saying, okay, has it been an AI model doing something? Has it been a GPT doing something? Or it was actually an employee doing that? And I think that brings a lot of questions and issues around provenance of data, trust, traceability. Also coming from particularly in the European Union context, which is somehow reflected in Switzerland as well, lot of regulations around sustainability and therefore a lot of data to be used. But once it's still difficult to define who did what, it's somehow very complicated. And I'm thinking about, very, very simple tasks, for example, not much ownership around prompts that are being used, similarly to what could be, version control when it comes to technical implementation. Question of data qualities that are somehow ingrained with the use of GPT, and sometimes the question of data quality is made worse also by the fact that unfortunately for the time being, we receive many wrong output from the GPTs. Therefore, the problem of garbage in, garbage out is made many times bigger by leveraging AI agents or GPTs. So on the other hand, I see it as well, as an opportunity to somehow, from the beginning, have traceability and explainability by design. And I was a bit exploring the question, and I see, for example, that Apertus, the LLM model that was recently launched by the Confederation, basically is somehow integrated now with SageMaker from Amazon Web Services. So the idea is that you can use a model with Apertus that brings the traceability, the explainability, the provenance element, which is somehow helping to be compliant with GDPR or other data regulation, while at the same time taking advantage of services like Amazon's Web Services and the cloud, and therefore somehow having the possibility to be more easily integrated with the existing business processes. And then, another opportunity I see here, particularly from monitoring, reporting, and verification as well, the alignment of all these data modules with basically all these AI modules with all these data requirements, both for internal accounting and sustainability reporting, and as well data readiness when it comes to the possibility of having a due diligence, for example. And therefore, I believe, again, the opportunity is really being aligned with the standards, because, once you are being aligned with the standards that are recognized, it's somehow easier to leverage AI. And then I think last important point from my perspective is also having the opportunity as well to use decentralized AI platforms, because on the,
What
I
do you mean
believe
by
also maybe.
decentralized? Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean by decentralized platform? For those that are not technical.
So decentralized AI platforms are basically those that are based on blockchain, with the idea of keeping a trace of whatever is done, and the trace is there. The trace is immutable, and therefore there are some solutions like Caffeine by Definity, a Swiss blockchain company, basically with the idea that basically you have an AI model that runs on a blockchain layer with the opportunity to bring the transparency element that frequently lacks in AI solution. And I want to bring somehow the two sides of the spectrum. On the one hand, you have AI, which is great, which is doing many interesting things, but many times comes with the black box problem, in the sense that you get an output, but you really don't know how you came to get such an output. And on the other hand of the spectrum, you have the blockchain, which is like the permanent record, which is there, which is cannot be changed in essence. So the moment you use application on AI that are based on the blockchain decentralized layer, you can somehow create the basis for traceable and explainable AI.
Thank you. I hope that it was not too technical for people. Starting with myself.
Yeah.
No. But I think it's very interesting in regards to increasing trust and traceability. If we think about the EU AI Act, the EU AI Act asks from August, it requires from the LLM providers to be transparent, to show where the training was done and so on. So we will see what happens. I think that, as you cited, Apertus, I think it's very interesting because there is transparency building from design. So I think that we are seeing something moving. I agree with you about blockchain. I was very passionate about blockchain. Then I moved to AI. Sorry for that. And so there are lots of opportunities and ideas as well on how to turn this into an advantage from a customer standpoint and from a company standpoint. We are not covering today a topic which is very important, and it's included in the AI equation, and there is not much talk about it, but it's a very important one, which is the power consumption, right? So we know that to train, to run these models, there is a lot of energy required, lots of cooling that is needed, and so on. Just quickly, Michele, what's your view on that?
My view, I believe, like, hopefully soon it will be a changing narrative. So as I come as well from the blockchain perspective, a few years ago, when you would talk with people about blockchain, they would immediately think about crypto and immediately connect to Bitcoin, which is true, is still the most used use case there, the most relevant one. But fortunately, a lot of technological alternatives came up, which basically have the same capabilities of blockchain, the crypto layer of blockchain, or using them as crypto, which has an energy consumption which is significantly lower than the Bitcoin. So, nowadays, using many blockchains, you have basically energy consumption which is lower than a MasterCard or a Visa transaction. On the other hand, I feel like we are still in a development phase when it comes to AI, but for the time being, we have been focusing mostly on large language models, which by definition, they require a lot of energy because they are analyzing large data sets. But I believe, similarly to what happened in blockchain, it's only going to get better from the perspective of each individual transaction, because we are gaining more efficiency in computation. And on the other hand, we are also realizing that LLM are not the solution for everything. Many times it's just simply a question of transition into a small model, basically, which is working very well. And so basically it's significantly decreasing the energy consumption there. On the other hand, for sure, there will be an increase for every individual transaction, but on the other hand, the problem is avoiding there are so many transactions that the volume increases so much that the energy requirements will keep on increasing overall from, total balance perspective.
Thank you, Michele. I think that, I'm always appreciative of your views on everything, namely on sustainability, because I know that you are very focused on that as well. So thank you very much. So now let's see what everybody thinks about 2026. Companies are thinking about next year's strategy, maybe budget rounds are moving forward. So with everything going on, we spoke about the cost pressure, the geopolitics uncertainty. So let's do a round, starting with you, Caroline. If there was one action SMEs decision makers must take now to turn AI into an edge, a competitive advantage, what that would be, in your opinion?
I think that would be to sit down and then consider the ambition of the company in terms of AI. What is the positioning, what I want to do, and start small to be able to measure the results, but definitely start, because it's impossible not to run the show, I would say. And if I may, before Charlotte, if I may add something, because there was also an interesting point in the chat about selection of tools. And that's maybe we can take it afterwards, Barbara, but I give it to you. It's maybe where we could have Elio and Michele commenting on why should we choose the well-known tools such as MST, Microsoft, or OpenAI, etc., and not the smaller, maybe Swiss-based tool? I think those are questions for the SMEs, and that it's hard choice, but they have implication.
Yeah, thank you. I think that this is a hot thematic right now. I was before at an event with Charlotte, and we discussed about data sovereignty and the implications that AI has today, which if data were mostly in the hands of the US, if we take the cloud, if we take even Microsoft tools or whatever, or Google, let's take Google as well. We know that the data were collected before from Meta, from all the social network and so on. What is AI, and not many are thinking about it, is the amplification of data collection, right? So AI is going everywhere. The data are collected, and even though you hear that the data centers are in Zurich or they are in, in Paris and so on, as they are US vendor, and this you can talk about it better than me, Caroline, but the US government can decide at any point to say, please give me the data of this company, and the vendor, even if the data is stored in Zurich, they will have to hand over to this. So this is why the choice of the vendor, the long-term thinking with the geopolitics going on is critical, right? So we really, what we do at Stratedge, we really increase awareness on the importance of being aware where the data will be collected and will be stored. So sorry, Carrie, I elaborated on that. So now moving to Elio, so what they should do in first thing for preparing for 2026?
Yes, so I think for 2026, companies need to treat AI as a business priority and not just an IT project. So this means what? We need to think of business goals and link them to AI. So choose the top challenges and see how can AI help us solve these challenges. That's one. And two, you really get the data and the people ready. So you need to have work on having good, clean, connected data, and to work on having the right talent, either by bringing the right experts like us, or raising AI literacy throughout the organization to really make sure like leaders, everyone, but mainly leaders, know where to use AI and not just throw in resources like that.
Thank you. Very pragmatic approach. Thank you, Elio. And now to Charlotte.
So to rebound on what they say, maybe decision makers in the company should estimate how AI is a competitive advantage for their business and for their people. And if it is so, embrace the training and the implementation of AI through champions and clear adoption goals. Where do they want to be in?
Thank you, Charlotte. And now to you, Michele.
I feel like there is the need to focus on specific use cases. For the time being, I feel like people are still feeling like a kid in a toy shop, in the sense that they see many things around and they want to try everything, but then, they get nervous because, they have too much choice. So from the other perspective, I feel like it's very important to focus, on the low-hanging fruits, like every technological implementation, starting with something simple, starting somewhere where it's okay to have an error, and knowing that anyway you always have to human in the loop, basically, and disseminating information internally, making a proof of concept and then disseminating information internally, giving people time to think how, this small change could change my work. I think it's just question of focusing basically on something very specific that is feasible. That's a good way to start.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And to bounce on what you have all said, just an example, we have been working with the CEO of an automotive company, an SME in Switzerland. And the first thing, I think she was very smart. The first thing that she did, it was educating herself and her team about what AI is, and ensure that everybody talks the same language so that they understand what AI, Gen AI, and the risk, the opportunities, and then identify, as you all said, the use case, very low-hanging fruit. For example, they have a process that is about a request for proposal, RFP, that takes a lot of time. So it's the data are scattered everywhere, and there are lots of human time that is repetitive, is routinary, and so on. And she identified that as a first case, so that you can work on the data, you can embrace the literacy from the employee standpoint. And I think that's a smart move, right? So as everyone was saying, you need to embrace AI in a way or another, because it's here. And if you look at only about the investments, it's going to stay, it's not going away. So you need to cope with it, and you need to start really focused on the business and on the people. I don't know if, thank you all. I think it was a very interesting conversation. Caroline, are there questions in the chat?
No other questions.
Okay. If you have more while I wrap up, please ask questions. We will be happy to take them. So what we heard today, if I can wrap up with a couple of items, is that okay, there will be a survey. Sorry, I was looking at the chat. What we heard is that AI is not a tool, right? AI is in everywhere. It's in the economy, is in society. We see the use, even teachers are trained on AI. We see that people are like, even the Vatican has an AI expert. So there is really, AI is everywhere. The risks, as Caroline said, there are lots of risks, right? But the risks, biggest risk is to I don't know how is autruche in English. It's to put your head below the sand, right? So to hide yourself and pretend this is not happening. This is the major risk. So what is important is curiosity, is awareness, and embracing change in a responsible way. So understanding what are the risks, and if you don't have this expertise, surround yourself by neutral experts, right? Not by sometimes the technology vendors. I'm not talking about Michele and Elio because I know that they are ethical, but sometimes technology vendors just want to sell technology, right? So you need really to have people that you trust that can advise you. The other thing we heard from Charlotte, it was the importance of education, of awareness training at all levels, with starting from the top and then with all the employees. And then Michele highlighted the importance of trust. How can you even reinforce trust using blockchain? So I think that we have covered a wide spectrum of topics and the food for thoughts for SMEs. I hope that the topic was interesting, and we would appreciate your candid feedback on how it goes, as it was the first roundtable we did all together. So we want to get better. So we appreciate your time again, and we say goodbye. We please fill the survey, and thank you again to all, to my fellow panelists, and to the audience. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you, Barbara and
Bye.
panel.
Bye.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.